everyone, today we got to play El Grande Big Box. Actually, it wasn't today. It was a few days ago.
We had some
But-
technical mishaps.
Some tactical mistake. Did we forget to turn on the
No,
mic this time?
no, the memory card decided to corrupt itself.
Oh, okay.
So we're hoping for the best this time because it's the same memory card.
Yeah,
But I've deleted everything off of it.
Yeah. So, before we talk about El Grande, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because board games are awesome and that's what we do here. Randy, tell us more about El Grande.
All right, so originally El Grande was released in 1995.
It's been a minute.
This is the big box version. It was released in 2015, so it was the 20th anniversary edition.
So not quite a minute.
The rating on El Grande as a whole is on Board Game Geek is 7.7,
Okay.
and the rank is 83.
That's pretty high.
Yeah, well, it's a classic game. It's a top 100 game according to Board Game Geek.
Wow.
It's 2 to 5 players.
Mm-hmm.
The average length is 60 to 120 minutes. Age is 12 and up. Designed by Wolfgang Kramer and Richard Ulrich.
Mm-hmm.
Art by Doris Mathaus. And published by Z-Man Games. This version includes all of the, as of 2015, expansions for El Grande. It's out of print currently, but you can find it on the geek market from $160 to $190.
Holy moly.
Well, I mean, the big box games typically run about $100, so it's not that huge of a markup, but it is, because it is out of print, it's going to be a little higher.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about quality of pieces. I mean, very generic meeples. You have 2 sizes. You have one El Grande, and you have some smaller ones. You do have a purple...
a wooden marker for the king. Doesn't have a crown for some reason.
Well, it looks like something.
Yeah, it definitely looks like something. It would
I
look
think there are
a little more
games
appropriate with a crown.
There might be other games you could use with it.
I guess, but okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
It has a cardboard Castile. The original game had it's a wood, but I call it press board, really, Castile that was actually, solid, but it was just black. This one actually looks like a castle.
Yeah.
Or at least a tower. But the other one was more sturdy and made out of, more solid material.
I don't know if that was a net win on that one.
Yeah.
It does look better, though.
Yeah.
And then you have your standard cubes. Now, these weren't bad. Your little
Yeah, your dials are pretty good.
Your dials are pretty good. So that was pretty good.
And the cards are all linen finished. They have the smaller sized ones and then the larger sized ones, both of which are linen finished.
And these are actually really good quality.
Yeah, they're good cards.
So they're good cards. But, as far as appearance, I think quality's okay. I'm going to give it a 6.5. I mean, there's a few pieces that are a little bit better, but overall, it's pretty generic.
Yeah, I think 6.5. 6 to 6.5 is probably where I'm at as far as quality. I mean, it's basically just wood and cardboard and cards. I mean, there's not anything special about any of it, but
what they did make was good quality. There just wasn't a lot to it. There was no real inventiveness except for the king, and I'm not sure that's the inventiveness we needed for this game.
Definitely, yeah.
So I will say it is purple, though. So if they were going to do it, might as well be purple.
But you can't play as purple. You can play as pink in this, which is kind of unique.
I mean, very few have pink. All right, so then let's talk about theme. You're something, and you're trying to get the majority of area control.
The theme: Spain in the 15th century, 12 kingdoms, 1 county, 1 principality, and the Basque provinces. 5 tribes spread: Spaniards, Basques, Galicians, Catalians, and Moors. The nobility, especially the grandes or grand ones, of high nobility held significant influence. However, the middle nobility, the caballeros, were themselves in possession of extensive privileges. All the regions of Spain were eager to develop their independence. The castillos, or castles, also played an important role. So, that's it.
Right. So, theme, no. It's like, I mean, there's technically a theme. It does look like Spain. But the thing is, the game feels dated.
Yes.
With the artwork, with the pieces. So it feels dated.
Well, it's made to look like a 15th century
Yeah.
map.
Yeah, but it's still, okay. 15th century map. Like, if you look at some of the games that kind of go for that feel now.
Yeah. It's definitely,
yes.
yeah, it's, I wouldn't say it's two-toned. There's more than two colors, but it's minimalistic, that's for sure.
It's something.
Yeah.
So for me, the theme does not push gameplay very much. This could be any map.
Yeah, it's a geographic region.
Yeah, so for me, the theme's not very high on this. I think it's in the same level as Catan, so I'm giving it a 5.
Yeah, I'm right with you. I mean, there's not anything that sets this apart that makes you think this is just, you don't feel like you're in 15th century Spain. You feel like you're putting
I feel like I'm on
meeples on a map.
Yeah, putting meeples on a map. All right, so now let's talk about Rulebook.
So there are actually 4 rulebooks.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the way they do this. It's 12-page for the main book, although the cover is kind of a half cover. It's got the history in the background.
Yeah, now you liked it because like the main rules are in one book and then the expansions in another book.
Well,
so
they're in 2 other books.
Yeah, so it's very clear what goes with what.
They've sectioned it by color. It's very easy to read. It's clear what you're trying to, which section you're in and what you're trying to define in that section. It's actually only 8 pages for gameplay, and then it goes into what all the cards mean, and it literally tells you what every card does in very clear paragraph. So I like the way it's done. It's if the cards are pretty self-explanatory as is, but if there were any questions, it's all right here.
Yeah.
You don't have to go online for it. And one of the big things is because this is a big box game, there's storage for every expansion, and they put in a geographic diagram of where everything is supposed to go when you put it away.
There are very few games that have done this. I can only think of one on the top of my head that did this. Yeah. And that is an excellent piece when you start getting into these.
Oh, yeah. It's a pain, especially with I'm thinking of you, Queen Games, where you get the big box of those and you just have to guess where everything goes. This was very clear where everything's going. And on the other side, to make it even better, they have a quick setup, so you don't have to go sifting through the book. It's right here to tell you where everything goes to start a basic game.
Yeah, so if you already know the rules and you just need help with setup, because there's a lot of times where that's the case, where I'm like, I know how to play this, I don't know how to set this up.
Yeah, I just don't remember how many pieces you get or whatever. It's all right there.
So that's really kind of nice as far as replayability, being able to do a quick start as long as you know the basic rules. So let's then move on to...
Well, we didn't give a score. So I'm going to give this one a 9. I think it's an excellent way they've done it. It's clear, it's laid out nicely, and the expansions are not intruding into the rules. So if you want the expansions, there's two pages or a book with that, and then another 2-page document with that.
All right, so now we can move to gameplay. Now that you gave it a score, so gameplay.
Well, first you're going to get an area of the map.
Right. So that's kind of startup, though.
You start with your Grande and 2 of your little meeples there. You have 3 sections in this game. You've got the board, you've got your provinces, which is kind of basically your pool where you put all your workers, and then you have your court, which is where you start the game with 7 workers in your court, 2 and the El Grande on the board.
Now your El Grande does not count as far as when you're counting strength of your area location.
Yeah.
So key point. So basically you have your max, like this is the most workers you're going to get. This is your active workers. So you're basically, there's a section where you're putting them, making them kind of active. And then there's another action where you're actually putting them on the board. So, and depending on where you put them on the board, again, this is an area control game. So in a 3-player, there's a first and second option, but when you get 4 players, there's a first, second, and third option as how many victory points you get based on the strength that you have in that area. But to kind of go, so if I'm first player, I'm going to pick the card of my choice that's available open. Now, there's one card that is always available, and it is called the King's card. You may move the king to any region, and I can place 5 people from my court. No.
Yeah,
from your court.
From my court out to the
onto
board.
the board.
Right. Oh, okay. And so that's that card. Now, the special thing about the king is that when I place the king somewhere, no one can affect the meeples on that area
Well, it's
control.
not just the meeples,
And-
it's anything. So,
Yeah.
like the scoring boards, if they're on there, you can't move them.
Yeah. Basically, the king is overseeing the area, and you can't affect it. And then the other piece of it is that when you put out from your court onto the board, they have to be in provinces around the king. He just doesn't allow anyone to go anywhere. Now, there is a small caveat, is that anytime when you place from your court onto the board, you can place them in the Castile. Now, the Castile is special because you don't see how many people are going. You kind of have to know how many you put in and how many other people put in. And then at the end of the 3rd, 6th, and 9th round, you'll open up the Castile, count how many people. It is another area that you can control. There's just no, because it's over the course of 3 rounds. Now, which is the scoring round. And then you can take all of those workers out of the Castile and put them in one area upon your choice.
Yeah. But
Now,
you
again,
pre-select the region hidden, so
Before-
nobody knows
yeah.
what you're going to set, where you're going to send them.
Now, I will want to remind you, do not pick the place where the king is at, because they are just going to go back into your
Province.
Your province,
Yeah.
which means you've wasted a bunch of stuff. Now, so I forgot, we bid. That's how we
Yes.
determine first player.
So these,
I know I was
there's
forgetting
cards that range from 1 to 5 meeples that you'll get to play onto the board.
Yeah.
But you have to bid for them using these little cards, and we all have the same set of cards that ranges from 1 to 13.
Yeah. And the key thing with these is, like, for example, this 2 has 5 people. This allows 5 people to go from your province into your court. So, but once you use this card, you never get to get it again unless you get another card that allows you to pick those up. So that's kind of a reminder. So you may not want to play all your heavy ones first, because there are cards that take your stuff from your province, or take your stuff from the court to put it in the province, and it can affect your stuff. So it's almost, you do want a slow and steady stream to slowly put out in case someone, ruins you.
And when you play, you don't play these hidden or simultaneous. So if you are first player, you get to play you decide which card you're going to play from a numeric standpoint. No one else can play that same number. So you go around the table clockwise from the person who's first player, each one choosing a card, but they have to be different values.
Yeah. So anyway, so you play your card, and then obviously whoever, the first player gets to go.
Well, the first player selects the card they're going to play.
First,
Then
okay.
whoever's got the highest valued card will get first choice of these cards here.
Right. So, and again, there's one that's always there. Everything else ranges with different abilities, and also it has a different amount. So there's always going to be one level 4, which is the level 4 lets you put 4 people out. There's always going to be one level 3, which means only 3 people will be able to go out when you play the card 2, and then 1. Now, I did notice a lot of the ones give you additional people to put out. And I think it does get a little more congested with the more players you have, because, when we played 3, I could do a 5, you could do a 4, he could do a 3, and that's pretty putting them out. But you get that 4th person in there, and then you ended up with a 2 and a 1, and that can get kind of, kind of heavy there as far as competition goes. And then scoring rounds at the end of 3, 6, and 9, just like we talked about.
Yeah, you score the Castile, then you select where you're going, they go to that region, then you score each region. So everything in the Castile will actually get to score twice.
Right.
So that's the
So
benefit
there
of
is a
that.
benefit, but then all of them go to one region.
Right.
So, you don't want to put all your bags in a basket, because, maybe you can win one region, but that's,
Right.
there's other regions out there. And I did like the fact that there's a little cheat sheet on where to score. So during the scoring rounds, there's this little thing that you could follow. Oh, pick your place, do your Castile, put your workers in the in whatever province you chose, and then you can go through and score it score the different areas. So I liked that piece of it as well. So that was a good thing that they did, that cheat sheet. Other than that, I think that's about it, right? Especially cards you just have to read. And
each of the cards do different actions. Some of them will veto other actions. Some of them will put varying scoreboards onto the board that increase or decrease values at different locations.
Some allow you to mess with other people's courts and Castile or provinces. Some allow you. So there's a bunch of different opportunities. Oh, there's additional scoring. Mm-hmm. Typically with the level 3, there's a bunch of different scoring mechanisms that helped me out quite a bit. Mm-hmm. That was more powerful than I think we kind of realized. So yeah. What is something that you really like about this game? I mean, this is really highly rated.
Yeah. So this one is very highly rated in my list as well. And it's because it's such an elegantly designed game. It is well balanced. There's no runaway leaders. It's typically you're going to have the opportunity to alter if somebody takes the lead in the first scoring. You can alter your placement of pieces on the board such that doesn't happen again. So you'll generally see when you play this game, somebody might get the dominant score in the first third of the game, and then suddenly somebody else gets it in the second third, and somebody else in the third had a third, because people are moving things around to make sure that somebody doesn't run away with the score. I like the way this game flows. I like the fact that you've got, there's the king limits you on where you can go. The Castile gives you a bonus scoring.
You use it very effectively by being able to place your workers, then moving the king and kind of keeping control of that area. So I think you used it multiple times to be very effective.
One of the things we didn't mention is the king will give you 2 bonus points during scoring rounds if you dominate the region where the king is.
Right.
You also get 2 bonus points if you have the majority in the place where your El Grande is.
And this is not a very high scoring game, so those 2 points do add up pretty significantly, I think. So yeah, I mean, I say not high scoring. I did end up laughing.
Yeah.
So it wasn't much. I had like 101 or 100 right on this.
I got it, I think, as high as 140, 150. So it is possible.
Holy moly!
It is possible.
What did the other people get?
I don't remember, but I know
Obviously
it
not
is
very
possible
much.
to score more.
Well, I don't see how that's possible because you are very limited on the number of points that are available. So
yeah,
I mean, I guess if there's a disparity in players, maybe, but
I've played this many times, and I've yet to play any of the expansions. It still holds my interest in just the base game, but the main thing is I'm usually playing with somebody new. Yeah. So, that's one of the challenges with getting expansions. We end up not playing them a lot because we always have someone new we're teaching. So we end up playing with the base game a lot, except for ones where it's just critically, intrinsically built in, like Lords of Waterdeep, where you really don't want to play without the expansion once you play.
Yeah. So I will say that, you make a good point. This is a very balanced area control game. It doesn't feel as attacky as some of your other area control games, but there is a little bit of take that to that as well. I, for whatever reason, am not a fan of area control, but I do pretty good at them is what's sad. I just don't enjoy them very much. But this one wasn't bad. This one was okay. I was like, this isn't, because most of the reason why I don't like area control is because of the attacky feel. But you're only limited to the cards, and so it doesn't feel like you pick a card. I mean, it's not like someone's all out attacking you per se. They have to do what the action is on the card, and sometimes that is the best action. So it doesn't feel as attacky. And so I was okay with that. So that, for an area control game, I really do see why this was rated so highly, even though it's not my cup of tea. If you like area control, this is definitely one you should look into.
Well, there's also the managing of your resources, if you will, and your workers, because you have to manage how many am I going to get out, because I have to play a low number to get them out. But then, to get one of the cards to play what I want, I have to play high numbers. So you have to manage, and you manage that around the scoring rounds. So you want to play such a way that you get to pick first.
You worried about that more than I did, and I did okay.
Yeah. Because on the second round, if you play a low number and you get to go first as a result of it, you can play a high number and dominate where the king goes on the scoring round. So there's strategy involved in just managing your workers.
Yeah, I mean, and then me, like, I used a bunch of my low numbers to get my workers out, but I also picked high numbers to play them out. So I got them out on the board fairly quickly. And then towards the end of the game, honestly, I didn't have any workers to get out because I had.
That's because we were nice, because there were cards that sent them all back to the province.
No, but by that point, I didn't have any left in my court.
Yeah.
So that card didn't come out till way later. And by that time, I had gotten everybody out, played most of them. Mm-hmm. So I only had 2 in my court. So what, like, okay, take my 2. Yeah, okay.
But
it wasn't that big of a deal.
I have gotten hosed by that many times where I've had a lot of people built out here and then they all get sent back to the province.
Well, I mean, so you got to be aware of that. I mean, I never had more than 10 in my province, because I kept, I played a 5, I'm going to play another, get this one or get the 4 to get them out. So I did manage that. There is a bit of a management piece. And then I was able to take my 2 back. And so I was able to take a few back cards that helped me get them out quicker and helped me get them out on the board, which I think ended up being successful in the end because, the more people you have on the board, the more points you end up getting because you have control if you place them appropriately.
Yeah.
So I think there's some strategy involved. There's some thinking, and I think we played differently.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of interesting that you don't have to play one way.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely strategies in playing, I'm going to get the high point spaces, but then there's cards that let you score all the 5 regions, which are lower scoring, but you get to score more often. So, and that's where you came in and got most of your points was by scoring regions because you happen to have all the 5 or 6 regions or whatever.
All the 5.
Well, you were
most of them.
Yeah, you were either in first or second in every one of them, I think.
Yeah, well, I was second on the one I didn't have. Well, then there was the score 4, and I was in control of that.
Yeah.
I think, because you and Dad were battling over like 2 or 3 areas, and I just spread out my people, and I was just like, well, if you ain't gonna fight me for it, I'm just gonna hang out. I had this one with 3, like almost the whole entire game, and I was like, I only have 3 meeples, and y'all are having like 15 right here. Why did you guys do that? Like in my mind, I was like, that don't. Y'all let me win? Like,
well, I tried to get myself into at least for second position everywhere I went. I got a lot of points from being spread out, but I usually was in second place in most of the regions because I found that typically works well for me. I think it is more effective when you have 5 players than it is necessarily when you're playing with 3.
Right. Well, and that may be the case. So, so there's a couple of things you can do. Now, I will say, more people on this board, it would be very, very tight.
Yes. And you're guaranteeing every one of these cards is going to get played.
Yeah. So, I don't know if I'd have as much fun with it.
I find it to be more interesting. So.
Well, you got to realize this is not my cup of tea.
Well, yeah, and you don't like attacking.
I don't. It's not a thing I like to do.
We avoided a lot of the attacking cards, but you wouldn't have that situation in a 5-player game.
Oh, yeah, because you would end up having to take it. And I probably wouldn't play. Just being honest, it's just not my cup of tea, right? Like, so, but for what this is, if this is a thing you like, this is a good game. So what would you give it in a score?
I'm probably going to, I normally would give this a 9. I think I'm going to give it an 8.5 just because I don't think it's aged. Some of the complexity that you see in the games today, this doesn't have. I like the simplicity of it, but and it hasn't gotten old yet for me, but it's a little drier than some of the newer games. So I'm going to just give it an 8.5. I don't think it's aged 100%, but I think it's done pretty well holding its own.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I will say this is, I say, a light to medium area control game. Mm-hmm. And for the time, this was pretty awesome, I'm sure. But I think you're right on that call that there are other area control games that I think people would typically like a lot more. Probably not me, but there are other people that like those type of area control games a little bit more. So you're saying an 8.5. I don't like it that much, but I think we knew that. But for what it is, it's pretty good. So I'm going to give it a 7.5 because I think it is a very solid game. It's just it's not for me, and that's okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We had a blast, and hopefully you'll come and hang out with us again. Specifically me. I mean, because I'm pretty cool.
Yeah, but I'm closer to the Christmas tree, and you get the pretty lights behind me. So
yeah. But redhead, like. Anyway, catch you guys later. Bye.